Welcome back in, Billiken fans, to the Midtown Madness podcast. And we have an exciting episode for everybody. First of all, welcome back in my co-host, as always, Peter Hale. Pete, how we doing?
Doing pretty well, Zach. I got a really exciting week of basketball ahead. We had a great weekend of soccer, so it's a good time to be a SLU fan.
Yeah, I don't know when I'm going to actually do real adult things this week because, I mean, you look at Tuesday, we got a game. Wednesday, we got a game. Friday, we have a game. Thursday and Monday, I may be able to clean my apartment. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Dishes, I have no idea. They're not getting done this week. I'm really excited. We have an exciting opportunity. Another one, Travis Ford apparently wants to come back on the podcast, which is shocking news to me. So we are going to kick that right now. Actually, we're going to send it over to Travis Ford. It's an awesome talk with Coach Ford. So enjoy that, Billiken fans, right now. All right, Billiken fans, by the grace of God, we somehow got Travis Ford to agree to come back on our silly little show. Coach, how are you doing today?
Doing good. Just got home from practice just a little bit ago. So it's all's good. Yeah, just, it's amazing. When you're in the middle of the summer, you can't wait till the season gets here. And then all of a sudden it's here and you wish you had about another month to practice. So, but we're anxious. We're anxious to get out on the court, kind of see where we're at.
How about that women's soccer team today?
Yeah, that's incredible. I tell you, Katie Shields is one of the best coaches I've ever been around. Forget about sport. It doesn't matter. She is an amazing coach, done an incredible job, especially this year. They fought a lot early, but just through some injuries, but it's very exciting. And now it's Kevin and those guys. Hopefully they can do it next weekend.
I'm curious. She had a pretty rough injury go her way with Hannah Larson going down last season. Do you take any inspiration from that you're kind of in a similar situation and they went on and did great things?
Yeah, there's all kinds of examples. This is not the first time. I've been doing this a long time, and unfortunately, injuries are a part of the game. They're never any fun. You hate it for the individual first and foremost. A guy like Javante, it worked extremely hard to get bigger and stronger in the off season, and I was anxious to see that pay off for him. But yeah, I've dealt with adversity before, and it's part of it. And I think what Katie and those ladies have gone through this year is a great example of you've got to it's the next person up at this point, and nobody's going to feel sorry for you. Can't make excuses, and you got to figure things out. That's kind of I think gets lost in the mix a lot of times. Sometimes you just got to figure it out. And, we're just going to have to figure this thing out.
So it sounds like you had a long day at the office today, but you've got a really unique week coming up here with 3 games in 4 days. And I'm kind of wondering how that impacts you and the staff in terms of your preparation, scouting for this, and not throwing too much information at your players, because this is more of like a conference tournament style format than anything.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I'm going into my 25th year as a college head coach. I'm not, or something like that. It's a long time. You lose count after a while, but I've never done anything like this ever. As far as this many games back to back, right out of the gate. And it kind of jumped up on us a little bit. We needed one more. You're allowed 13 non-conference games, or what you're allowed, and we had 12. And there was just no other place to put a game. We looked everywhere. There was nothing made sense whatsoever. So we decided to play a D2, and we said, where can we put it? And you're looking at other games where you might need some days of preparation, and you look at all the schedule, and that's kind of what we came up with. Now I'm kind of second guessing it, but it's a little late at this point. And then you've just got one day's preparation going into Eastern Illinois. So I think our guys are going to be are excited about playing games rather than practicing. They're tired of practicing probably. We changed up a little bit our schedule. We took off yesterday, which is a little abnormal a little bit, but just for the fact we do have a lot coming up that we just want to give them a day off on a Saturday where they had nothing else to do. A lot of times the day off may be on a Wednesday or Thursday and they have class, still have tutors and everything like that, where we said, let's just give them a day of rest mentally and physically for Saturday. They took yesterday off and, actually came back and practiced really well today. But you're exactly right. It's long days at this point.
One of the concerns, or I guess one of the things that was raised by fans after the exhibitions was the foul trouble among the front line. What's your kind of thought or strategy for keeping Linson and Okoro on the court and out of foul trouble? And do you see any combination of, Traore, Lorenzen, or even Hargrove getting time at the 4 or the 5?
Yeah, we've kind of got the three. We've got Linson and Francis Okoro and Lucina all play in the 5, those guys. We do need to keep them out of foul trouble, no question. With Martin and Francis getting probably the most minutes, as long as they stay out of foul trouble, we'd love to just rotate those guys back and forth, get equal minutes. It doesn't matter who's starting; they're going to play it. I've said they're 1A and 1B. I mean, they're identical for us. What we've actually changed a little bit, and I don't know if this is going to help our foul trouble situation, we're actually going to play those two together a little bit. We've worked on that quite a bit since Javante has gotten injured. At this point, when you lose somebody that caliber, you're just trying to figure out how to get all your best players on the court at the same time, as much as you can. And if we could get those two on the court, it gives us a different look that I think will give teams a little bit tougher time to match up, and they're two of our better players.
You mentioned your best players on the court at once, and your probably consensus best player right now is Yuri Collins. And we actually spoke with Erwin Claggett the other day. We had him on for a couple hours, and
y'all got Clag off the golf course. Y'all actually got Clag to get on here and get okay.
I had to chase him down. I had to go to the country club to get him. I had to bribe the cart girl to tell me what hole he was on.
He's great.
Oh, he was unbelievable. But he worked with Yuri Collins in the off season. What kind of return do you see from him working with Collins?
Well, I think first of all, Clagg's one of the great high school coaches in the state. Just a tremendous guy, but and great coach. But Yuri's worked extremely hard in the off season, and I think it goes back to the last 5, 6, 7 games that we played last year when teams weren't guarding, and it really affected our team and affected his game. But I don't want him to change his mindset. We first and foremost need him to change the game defensively. He can be a game changer, and we need him to be. You look at a guy, I've compared it to what I need him to be. It's kind of like a Davion Mitchell was for Baylor. As far as on the defensive end, it changes the game, and then change the game by making everybody around you better, running our team, being a leader that has presence. And then there'll be nights you might need to score more than others. I don't necessarily need him going out there and trying to score. We need him to be Yuri Collins. We saw, he had a great stat line in the Lindenwood game, exhibition game. And that game presented itself to score. Some games it may not, so we just need him to concentrate on what makes him great, which in turn really, really helps our team.
In a recent interview, you mentioned that you had about 8 guys who had really played their way into the rotation at this point. Do you think coming into a week like this, where you've got these back-to-back games, you stretch that out a little bit more to start the season here?
You guys know me. I get to the games, and we're just trying to win them at this point. So
sure. We're
going to do whatever we got to do to win the games. And if that means we have to go deep, we got to go deep. But we need to first and foremost figure out how to win the games. And, we're going to go with the guys that understand the system at this point, that understand what we need to do, that understand how to play together with each other. And, it could be 9 or 10 guys. Most likely I would, I would say there'll probably be 10 get in the game. Maybe even 11. Now, I don't know how many minutes, but as my coaching staff tells me, yeah, that's what you say right now. And the game start and you stick to about 7 guys, 8 guys. That's kind of my MO usually. But I think you make a good point, a point that's been discussed, a point that I need to have confidence and try to get some of these guys in the game, if anything, just to see where they're at, just see where we are. And I've told my staff, make sure I do that. Don't let me just keep rotating certain guys. Make me put these, some of these other guys so I can gain confidence in them and really see what they're capable of. Because we're going to need them at this point. We're going to need a couple of guys to step up, that haven't really done it to this point, but need to.
Coach, I don't want to keep harping on Javonte Perkins because I know everybody's talked it to death, all this stuff. But I am curious though because people who know me know I wear my emotions on my sleeve. But Javonte Perkins goes down, and I trained my eyes on the bench after that happened, and I just wanted to see how the players reacted and how you reacted, and you were stone cold, no emotion. How do you keep cool, and how do you keep your team on a level when something like that happens?
Again, we've been through a lot of adversity over the years, and they're going to react the way I react, and that's even true during the games. I know I can get a little crazy over there at times, but there's a method to the madness, and my players know it. They're around me every day, and I know when I need to get fired up that it's going to probably fire them up, but I also know when I need to, they've got to understand. And I knew immediately when it happened, what had happened with Javonte. I knew immediately. I've seen it before, and I knew immediately. So they needed to understand that we're going to be okay. We need to move forward. This is part of the game. We feel bad for Javonte. That's all we talked about after the game is we feel bad for Javonte, and we need to support him in every step of the way. He's going to be having surgery here soon, but he's going to need all of our support. We didn't even talk about basketball for a couple of days, to be honest with you. We didn't even talk about where we were. I needed some time to absorb all of it and figure out, all right, what direction, because, you've probably heard us. You can't keep going down the same path you were. That's just, you lose one of the best players in the country. Doesn't, you're not changing drastically, but you do have to pivot a little bit. You do have to pivot and figure a few other things out. And I really laid it out. It took a couple of days and really thought about it and laid it out in front of our team when we finally got back together and talked about, all right, here's how we're going to adjust a little bit. And I really laid it out, and to where they could understand it. And it was very specific, and where we're losing 20 points. And I told them, we're not going to get it by just one person, but here's our way. Here's the ways we're going to do it. And I thought they really got it. So, I was cognizant of how, when that happened, what was next. And, they needed to see that, we're going to continue to move forward, support Javonte, but it's part of it. It's part of life.
How's Javonte doing heading into surgery? Is he in a pretty good place?
He's in as good as you can be. I mean, Javonte, I've never seen Javonte in a bad mood in his life, ever. Yeah. He's one of the funniest guys you'll ever be around. He's just such a lighthearted, fun-loving young man. He probably, we knew it had happened, but he had to go get an MRI 2 days later, whatever day it was. And we got the results back at like 5:00. And so I had to go over and give him the news, and he handled it a whole lot better than I did probably. So, he's a strong kid that, but he also needs support. He needs everybody to support him. I know he's down. He doesn't show it, but I know he's down. because he was ready for a special year and he wanted to do well for the team.
Speaking of lighthearted, you guys had an outing to the Blues game the other week. How did that go? And I'm sure there were some guys on the team that had never seen hockey in person. How was that? And was it fun watching them watch hockey?
Well, it was interesting. We were, obviously we had the injury and that led right into fall break. We didn't have school Thursday or Friday, heading into the weekend right after, I guess, the injury occurred Tuesday night or whatever it was. And so we started thinking about all these different things we could do as a team to try to, our team was really down, really down. I knew they would be, but even more than I anticipated. And that just shows the respect they have for Javante. So I had all these ideas. I had things planned from Thursday to Sunday, and I think all the coaches were like, we're going to wear these guys out. It's a little too much. And one of the coaches spoke up. I think it was Phil Forte, said, Coach, I've had several guys ask me, could we go to a Blues game? I thought he was joking. I didn't think they would care that much about going, I didn't know if they know that much about hockey. So I just took it upon myself. I called the Blues. They took great care of us, and we surprised our players, and they absolutely loved it. You should have seen them taking their pictures and the videos. And, it's fun seeing these guys act like little kids sometimes. And they really, really enjoyed it. And it was a fun night. They needed it. So it was a big time.
I was at that game, and there was quite a big scuffle in
Yeah,
that game.
they liked all the fights more.
Yeah, I was wondering if I mean, they're like, we need this over in basketball, right?
Yeah, they loved it.
So we got to ask you about Jordan Goodwin. What do you think of his first couple performances here in the G League?
It's been amazing. I'll say this, Jordan Goodwin, and after players are done eligibility-wise, or when they're done playing and they're headed to the NBA, and or headed to try to play professionally when the season's over, it's amazing how hard everybody starts to work. It's amazing, and I've never seen anybody get after it like Jordan Goodwin. From the time our game was done with Mississippi State, he has been obsessed. His body is literally in the best shape I've ever seen. He was living in the gym multiple times a day, getting workouts in. So it doesn't surprise me a little bit because of the work ethic he's put into it, and just totally dedicated himself every day to working on his jump shot. And you can see how it's going in. And then he started all the NBA workouts going around for different teams. And the response I was getting was he was impressive in every one of them. So, I wouldn't be shocked if he gets pulled up soon, or another team grabs him, even possibly, with the numbers he's putting up and how he's doing it, with the efficiency he's doing it with. So, we text every night. He's very, very proud of him. Very, very excited for him and his family, and very, very proud of him.
We start the season Monday night, and it's exciting regardless of anything else going on. But you have kind of a unique situation in that you're taking on Central Arkansas, and you have a player that has recently transferred from Central Arkansas. How much do you kind of get with Deandre Jones and talk to him about Central Arkansas and maybe some of the guys on the team? Now, I know you've seen them. I know you have a program like Synergy that you can just find anyone. But how much do you work with Deandre, and how much is he kind of able to provide?
Oh, a lot. But you're right. Nowadays, you can't hardly hide from anybody. Everything going on. So we played them last year. We played them 2 out of the last 3 years. I don't know why. There's really no reason. It's just kind of has happened. But no question, we started a lot of preparation today, and we did have Deandre speak up a lot. We get in depth today. 2 days prior to the game, we get in depth personnel wise. Tomorrow we get more in depth with their plays that they like to run and their tendencies and their defenses and things. But the day before, as far as film work is concerned, it's all about personnel and learning their individual players. So he's been very helpful. They do have some new guys. They got a really, really good new point guard that's very good. But he did play with a lot of these guys, so it's been helpful.
So, you mentioned you have a good practice today. What do you think is the main thing that kind of differentiates? Here's a good day at practice, and maybe here's one that I'm disappointed with.
Yeah, at this point, now that we've been going for 4 weeks or so, whatever it is, practice, it's more about efficiency and sloppiness. Early on, they're always sloppy, and you base everything on effort and attitude. As you start getting further along, they need to understand execution, and execution was really good today. Guys seem to be understanding each other a little bit better. And it's, when you have a lot of new guys, which we haven't had in a while, we have quite a few that are, that are playing. Things don't come together quite as fast. And we've been struggling. I've said it, that some of these guys haven't picked it up as quick as I'd hoped. And, it is what it is. But today we saw some signs that it looked a little better. The execution looked a little better than it has been. We just hope it carries over. That's the big thing, and we'll see. We're going to be tested right out of the gate, so we'll find out.
When you went on Carricker and Smallman the other day, and you mentioned the pregame ceremony for Coach S2E10, and I just want to give you a chance to kind of reiterate, make sure our listeners know to get there early, and kind of give them an idea of what's going to happen. Yeah,
Tuesday night, home opener. First game of the year, always a big game, always very exciting. We always want a big crowd, but this one's special, no doubt about it. We want to pack Chaffetz. We're going to be honoring Ford on Tuesday night, and we'd love to have a packed crowd there. We'd love to get them there early. Game time starts at 7, so hopefully we can get everybody there a little bit early, and everybody can enjoy and honor Ford on this night. Going to be a lot of family members there. Obviously, Courtney and Penn are going to be there, and Ford's mom and dad, and a lot of family members and friends are going to be there. So we would love to pack. We're just trying to get the word out, as much as we can, and appreciate all your guys' help in spreading the word that, come on over. Tuesday night is going to be a good game, but also to honor and celebrate somebody that's meant so much to a lot of us, to our program, and we want to make it special for him.
Absolutely, Coach. I can't thank you enough. Pete, do you have any?
I do actually. Being an out of towner, do you know if that's going to be available, either a stream, or are they going to maybe share the video after the fact or something like that for us out of towners?
I know Bally's is carrying the game. I don't know if they're going to carry that, but I've got a feeling. I think they're going to probably record some of it and show it maybe throughout, possibly at some point. But I'm sure we'll record it and put it out, on some social media and things like that. I would guess we would do that. As far as that night, are they going to stream it? It's a good question, actually. But I would anticipate this. You'll be able to catch it somewhere.
We'll pester the AD a little bit and see if
there
we
you
can
go.
Get more of an answer out of that.
That's right.
That's right.
I'm good at that stuff. Coach, again, it's truly a pleasure to talk to you. I can't thank you enough for joining us. You bring us some much needed street cred. So
I don't know about that. No, I appreciate you guys. I've enjoyed it.
Absolutely. And we'll get you on a little, maybe before conference season too.
Perfect. Let's do it.
Awesome. Thanks you so
Coach.
much, Coach.
All right, guys. Take care. Thanks a lot.
See ya. All right, Billiken fans. Thank you to Travis Ford for just taking the time out of his schedule to join us, especially this late in the evening. We always record these things late on Sunday night. So we obviously thank him for taking time away from his family to talk basketball with us. But the Billikens have their home opener coming up this week, as we mentioned in the opening on Tuesday. University of Central Arkansas, the Bears come to town. One of my favorite NCAA trivia questions is that Central Arkansas's women's team used to be called still are the Sugar Bears. Which is I know we're in this era of like changing women's teams' names to just match the men, but like I still think that's kind of a cool quirk in a way. So anyway, Pete, what are we looking at from the Bears of Central Arkansas?
So it's definitely a team in transition. Their record has gotten progressively worse each of the last 3 seasons. They did part ways with their former coach Russ Pennell in the middle of the 2019-2020 season. And then last year, with the first full season under Anthony Boone, they went 5-19. So not a strong year, but they are in a new conference this year. They went from the Southland to the Atlantic Sun, and looking to kind of restart things there. Kind of the big story here from our perspective is they lose their program's all-time leader in assists and steals, Deandre Jones, who is now a
I've heard
fifth-year
that
senior.
name before.
Yeah, he's now a fifth-year senior on the Billikens. So that's kind of the most exciting kind of storyline with this one.
Yeah, it's super interesting. I think if this was European soccer, I think they'd have a clause that says DeAndre Jones cannot play against Central Arkansas. I think that's how they do it.
It is kind of an unfair advantage. And we talked with Coach Ford a little bit about, DeAndre's role. I mean, nobody on the staff, no matter how much work you can do, is going to know more about that team than a guy who just spent 4 seasons there. Even though every team's got personnel turnover from year to year, he knows everything about them. So it's kind of a pretty cool role, and maybe an unfair advantage for SLU in this one.
Yeah. So Central Arkansas went 5-19 with a 4-12 conference record last year, including a loss here in St. Louis to the Billikens. An 88-65 Billiken win in that one. Jimerson had a breakout game with 21 points. Collins was outstanding, 12 points, 9 assists. And of course, our guy Deandre Jones for Central Arkansas scored 10 points and 8 assists against the Billikens. The Central Arkansas, the only big returner for them is Jared Chatham, 13 points, 5 rebounds in that game. They have yet to play this season. What do you think? Do you think DeAndre Jones will be a bit of a, how much do you think DeAndre Jones can help, given that, I mean, we've seen everything. We've seen a lot from him last year, and it's a different coach this year.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, he did play a little bit under this coach. They did have kind of a transitional period there, and there are plenty of players who are rolling over from that squad. I think he's probably going to play a bigger role than people would realize. It's not just like kind of, hey, coaches do this, players do this. He's in a unique position. Like, as a 5th-year senior, he's a really experienced guy. So a lot of these guys, by this time in their careers, know, hey, I'm probably not going to be an NBA player. Maybe they are looking at coaching. I don't know about DeAndre specifically, everything he wants to do in his career, but yeah, of course, he's going to help out and play a big role in looking at this team. So I don't know. I think that's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how this squad shows up in against a Division I opponent in a regular season game with this kind of new look without Javante Perkins. Obviously, we talked about who will step up. Yuri Collins being the main kind of focus of that talk. What do you think this team looks like? How do you think this team wins games in this early season? And do you think they'll struggle with the adjustment early?
Honestly, yeah, it's going to be an adjustment. I think there's going to be some kind of ugly stretches of basketball.
A Santa Clara loss, if you will.
Not necessarily. I look at this week and I don't see a loss. I mean, all 3 of these teams are very much teams. No matter what has happened at SLU, we should beat these teams. They're not just kind of down the ladder a little bit from us. They're all kind of in transition. They're kind of bottoming out in terms of where they are with their own development. These all need to be double-digit wins. So even if SLU does struggle, I think these are good games to have, even though the schedule is a little compressed, a little weird. They're good opponents to play up front. Like we're not starting with a big showcase game like Memphis or Auburn or one of those. It's good to transition into whatever this team's going to be with these games. I think what is going to make this team survive the loss of Javonte Perkins are a few things. And I think number one is 3-point shooting. It hasn't been great in the exhibition games, but it's really got to be there more consistently. I know this team's going to shoot a lot of threes, but they need to make those at a pretty good clip, in order to compensate for the loss of Javonte. I think our big men have to be solid and stay out of foul trouble. And I think everybody just kind of has to do a little bit more. Fred Thatch talked about that, along with Yuri Collins on A10 Media Day. And it was just a matter of like, everybody's got to give that much more. Veterans on down to the guys who still have to prove themselves. Because Javonte is a really unique player for us and obviously a very important piece that you just can't replace with the next guy down the bench.
I can't remember who we spoke with about this, but I think at one point we talked about how you approach a team that has no film. And this is a team that we're going into play in Central Arkansas that, yes, we've seen film on some of the players, but we don't have film on the system. I know you had some experience with Soderberg. Do you remember how he did that, how he approached it, or how you would approach it?
So back in those days, it was a lot harder. I mean, even when I think it was in our Drew Diener interview that we talked about this. Yeah,
yes.
because
I forgot we interviewed a coach. Like that's how much I forgot he is a coach. Like,
well, that's how busy we are with having great guests on here too.
Yes.
But so he talked about the system they have now. I'm forgetting the name of it. It starts with an S.
Oh, it's Synergy.
Thank you. That they use. It shows you how old I am because I couldn't even conceptualize what it is. That they use now, where you can pretty much get game video on anybody, any division, any game. Like it's
Any
an
player.
incredible
I
system.
think you can even search by player.
That's absolutely it's an incredible system, and I know everybody like pays for the service and everything, but it's well worth it because like back when I was a manager, we were still exchanging VHS tapes, and I mean this was in the 2000s, but we were still running around after games, and it was kind of like a good faith system. Marquette would be in town and we give them a stack of tapes and they give us a stack of tapes for like future opponents we're playing. It was wild, man. And so, yeah, managers were a part of that. Specifically with Soderberg, very much an X's and O's guys, but he was also more worried about what we were doing from an X's and O's standpoint than the opponent. He came from Dick Bennett and his system. And Bennett reportedly, I don't know for how long he did this, but for the most part, he did not even scout opponents. Like, I don't know if like assistants kind of did on the sly or something, but he just didn't even scout. He was like, we're playing our system and we're going to force them to play our way. So Soderberg was not that extreme. But he did not put as much into the scout as Romar did, who I spent 1 year under him. And we did a lot more sort of game prep walkthroughs in terms of the opponent scout with Romar than we did with Soderberg. But again, so we're still talking about limited copies of VHS tapes kind of getting exchanged, either mailed around or handed off after games or whatever. So much different era, and you had a lot less to go on than you do now.
If you had to guess, I know because I just Googled it. What do you think is the yearly subscription price for Synergy? And I'll give you a hint. It's not $9.99.
Man, I don't even know. I mean, because like what it does could like kind of.
It's a bargain. I'll tell you, it's a bargain. It's a lot of money, but it's a bargain. It's and I'm not joking. Actually, no, it's not $6,900. It's $6,500 annually.
Yeah, I mean that's about right because. Yeah. When you think about the labor that you're saving, having a person put like, whether it's a graduate manager or assistant or something who puts all that stuff together, I mean, that's absolutely worth it. So, so yeah, that's a no brainer to me. That's not a bad price for what it is.
No, I would be interested to find out, a little bit more about, and I know we've had really coaches run the gamut of prep for games. I mean, you have a guy like Soderberg who really didn't prep for the opponent. You had You said Romar went a little further than Soderberg, and then you had Rick Majerus, who's lived in the film room, so and in the classroom. So, and I think Travis Ford would probably fall around between Romar and Majerus, or at least his assistants would.
Yeah, I think he definitely shows more of you see more change from game to game or year to year under him. Whereas if a Soderberg team came out, you pretty much knew what they were running. Every once in a while, Soderberg would, there were a few games where you'd see kind of like gimmick defenses. I know when we went up against Adam Morrison and Gonzaga, things like that. So he definitely scouted, just not to the level that other coaches did.
Moving a little bit forward on the schedule, like we said, there's 3 games this week, which is a crazy proposition in my mind. I mean, I can't begin to speak for Travis Ford, but I don't know if I would have done that. You have Harris Stowe and Eastern Illinois. What do you think we can expect from from Central Arkansas to Harris Stowe? And what do you think the motive is for? What would you venture to guess his motive was for that?
The motive in getting this game,
and putting it right after one of the back-to-back nights.
Well, I think the last time we had him on, he was kind of in the process of doing this, and kind of it was a matter of it was availability and dates. It was kind of beyond. I don't think he wanted it necessarily to happen this way. I think it just kind of did happen this way. I don't know how essential they saw this game as, though, because we've talked about this before. Most years we have 18 home games. It's kind of what you're shooting for in terms of, satisfying a season ticket holder's demand and everything. Like that 18 is the number we usually kind of fall into. And this year it's 19. And this kind of feels like the extra one, right? So yeah, that's that. I don't know the exact answer to that, except that I know this is the only way they could make it work with the opponents they had. So it is kind of a quirk. I can't think of a time aside from like a conference tournament or something that we actually, or a neutral, tournament in Hawaii or something, that we would have had something like this.
One exciting thing that'll happen this week is we get to see the return of popular walk-on Jack Raboyne. He is now with Marty Simmons at Eastern Illinois. Marty Simmons, of course, moving on from Evansville and moving over to Eastern Illinois and retaining Jack Raboyne, which is fantastic news for Jack and good for him in his career. And I know he's looking to climb the ranks. And I think we're gonna get to talk to him. I'm working on it. We've been in contact. He said he would come on, but we just got to make it work with the schedule. What do you think? Eastern Illinois is another team under transition, and Marty Simmons isn't a bad coach. What do you think we can expect from Marty's Eastern Illinois squad?
Yeah, I don't. To be honest, I just don't know. First year with Eastern Illinois, replacing Spoonhour, who's been there for Jay Spoonhour, who's been there for 9 seasons, and never really got going. Look, I know the conference is kind of falling apart, but the OVC is a pretty solid conference, especially at the top. Belmont, Murray State, still there. Every once in a while, you'll get a strong couple of years out of like a Morehead State or an Austin P or one of those. So this isn't a bad conference, and I think Eastern Illinois is preseason picked toward the bottom of it. So I think people expect them to struggle this year. It's going to be a long season. They were 9-18 last year, and I would expect this to be similar to the Central Arkansas game. This should be a comfortable win for SLU. No disrespect for Eastern Illinois at all. But I think SLU should be able to handle them pretty soundly.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll still be, Marty Simmons is not a bad coach. I think he'll have his team ready to play. But if you want to catch Eastern Illinois ahead of time and you have Big Ten Plus, more power to you, because I can't bring myself to pay for Big Ten Plus unless anybody wants to sponsor the pod. to get us Big Ten Plus so we can watch random. I have no idea why we'd ever need it. They play Northwestern Tuesday night, 7 p.m. You could, watch it when you get home from the Billiken game. So, see what they're all about if that's something that interests you. One more, I think men's basketball, or two more men's basketball notes. First off, we'll kind of live in the present Billiken mode. The Billiken home game. So there are a few games on the schedule, Fordham and UMass, that are listed kind of weird. They're listed as like NBC Universal. And basically these games are going to be televised on USA Network. And they were, the reason that they were listed as NBC Universal is that NBC was determining where these games would land, because NBC Sports Network, as I believe we've mentioned before, is going away at the end of the year, which honestly kind of bums me out, because I do really appreciate the production value that NBC Sports had. People do complain on the hockey about back end work and all that, but I really do think they have, it's one of the clearest pictures, the best graphics packages, all that stuff.
Yeah, I always liked NBC Sports Network too, and I kind of, are they just kind of transitioning everything to Peacock or?
Yeah, I think they're getting out of. It's interesting because they've got the Olympics,
right?
But they're getting rid of NBC Sports.
I mean, they clearly still have the infrastructure. I think they're just kind of reshuffling
moving
where things are actually going.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a bummer, because I agree with you. Every time I watch a broadcast on NBC Sports, I think it's the best production, best presentation. So yeah, that's kind of a bummer, but they'll go somewhere.
And now the news that everyone in Billiken land is talking about, and I never thought I'd say this, the Billiken faithful are gaga for the go-go. The Capital City Go-Go, the new home of Jordan Goodwin, played their first two games of the season, and man, did Jordan Goodwin impress, Pete.
Yeah, who saw this coming? Like, all he needed to do was go pro, and then he would score more than he ever did at SLU. I mean, how does that happen?
I don't know, man. I truly think that, it's one of those things where I think guys just, there's so much more time, so much more, resources, whether that be coaching or technology, I think in the pro level. But it's interesting because really, I mean, and I hate to say this, but the G League does really still seem very low rent to me. Like, it still has that kind of tinge to it, does it not?
Yeah, I mean, they're playing in smaller gyms. It's not big crowds. It does have kind of that. It's almost like it's like a summer league feel, right? I mean, because it feels like
they
don't
really have fan bases.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so it's like these are, but like the gear is nice, and like
Yes.
the coaches are like dudes who know what they're doing. It's not like some backwoods, fourth tier European league or something where you're just like, oh my God, what's going on there? But it is, it has more of a summer league feel to me in terms of like when you're actually looking at a game.
Yeah, I mean, 30 points first game, 29 points the second game, and he was, not only did he score a lot, he was a major factor in a comeback win in game one.
Yeah.
I mean, is this for real, or should we be getting this excited, or maybe wait for a few games to see what happens when teams start to realize what he can do?
So I think, so his 3-point shooting has been excellent. He actually scored 32 in the first game in 33 minutes. I think it got tweeted out wrong or whatever. But if you're looking at the box score, 33 minutes, he goes 12 of 21, including 4 of 8 from 3. He makes both free throws. So already you're kind of like, okay, what happened to Jordan? Like, we love him. He fills a stat sheet, but not those categories necessarily.
I've always said he's the worst, the least talented scoring scorer.
Yeah.
Like he does not, that's like,
He works
does
for his
not-
points. Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, it's offensive boards. Yeah, he kind of catches you sleeping. He's not the guy who's standing out there burying threes, but then he goes ahead and gives him, eight rebounds per his usual ability there. So, and yeah, the craziest thing about that first game is, if you were kind of following on Twitter that night, they started in a 19-0 hole, and they wind up winning the thing. And it's he's by far the leading scorer in that game. He actually had their first points to make it 19-2. But yeah, pretty wild arc in that one. And then he basically comes out and does it again the next game.
I'm picturing that scene from Rookie of the Year where he's just like, Rosenberger, get in the game. And Goodwin goes in and just lights it up. So
Yeah. I mean, look, who knows? It's a small sample size. It's early in the year. There's a lot of, the weird thing about the G League is a lot of these rosters are completely different from year to year. So we talked earlier about, like, you don't have game film on a team. It's like, I don't know how these guys scout at all. The way players kind of move through it. So,
and the way they do, I mean, and to add in, you've got a guy like Goodwin,
mhm.
who you scout maybe off his college film, and and then he just completely changes his game between his senior day and day one of, I mean, even the summer league, it's completely like he wasn't anywhere near that.
Right. If he has kind of figured out something with his shot, then we'll be seeing him in the league this year. If he's figured that out. So, he's gone 8 for 16 from 3 in the first 2 games. He's shooting over 50% from the field. He's averaging 8 rebounds. I think he had 4 steals in the second game. I mean, he's just if he's going to produce anywhere near, like, he's not going to average 30, I don't think, in this league, but if he produces anywhere near this level, they're going to have to bring him up at some point.
What a wild turnaround. I mean,
Yeah.
Twitter was on fire then, and I
Yeah.
missed the whole thing. I just missed it all. I'm so mad.
Yeah.
We'll move on to women's basketball. They finished their exhibition schedule, just a 1-game exhibition schedule. 79-50 win over Illinois Springfield. A couple of surprises in this one, Pete, in the box score. Obviously, neither of us saw it, so we're truly just going off the box score here. But Marissa Warren and Kylie Bess seemed to step up a little bit. They were the surprises, I think.
Yeah. So there's, with MST going down for the year, Smith Traore, that production is going to have to pick up somewhere, right? So we talked about some of the bigs and different combinations that Coach Stone might use, and it's great to see both of them step up and really produce, even though they're not slotting into her position. There's a lot more minutes going around, and they're trying a lot of different lineups. So great job by both of them, and obviously both Harbison and Flowers are getting a lot done in this one, a lot of minutes and good production in this one as well. But that's to be expected.
Yeah, that's the usual suspects.
Right.
Kaija Harbison, 16 points, 2 assists. Brooke Flowers, 11.7 rebounds. I think Kylie Bess stepping up as a freshman and making shots is going to be huge for this team. You lose, oh gosh, I can't remember her name. She transferred to Indiana. One of the Indiana schools, I can't remember her name right now. But we had a couple of ladies step up in this one too, which we needed. One of them, which we needed without MST, and that's Saval Gould.
Yeah.
She had 9 points, 3 rebounds in this one. And then Julia Martinez had a nice game. I know we really needed her to score a lot last season. We needed her to at least step up and show that she could score. She put in 7 points and 5 assists in this one. So
yeah, Ghoul is actually, so she's the Arizona transfer. She's actually the one who's like slotting into MST's spot in the starting lineup, right? Because she's an actual front court player. She's the one who's going to be across from Flowers playing that 4. So she's probably the one that we were kind of keeping an eye on coming into this one. And yeah, 9-3 is great. I mean, that's in 20 minutes. Staying out of foul trouble. That's all you can ask in her first game. So that's great. I think Kylie Bess, I think they were excited about her coming in, but apparently they've got just unlimited confidence in her shooting ability. I think they see her kind of like the men's team looked at Jimerson, like somebody who can come in right away and really stretch out the floor for them.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to catching a few games this year. One little quirk in the schedule, they actually will play Tuesday night ahead of the men's basketball team against Northern Iowa at 4 p.m. I believe it is. And this is a team that was 17-13 last year, 11-7 in conference. They had a couple of really nice wins. They beat Creighton. They took down South Dakota State at home. That's when South Dakota State was ranked 21st in the nation. And of course they did fairly well in the Missouri Valley, which with the back-to-back scheduling that the Missouri Valley has kind of adopted lately with the unfortunate pandemic. And we'll move on.
No, real quick before we move on, it was Rachel Kent was the one who transferred out. Yeah, I completely forgot about that. And Kylie Bess was technically a freshman last year, but she never played. So she's stepping into a rotation role this year.
Also, the Billiken women basketball will take on Indiana State Sunday at 1:00. Indiana State will play Tuesday night against Stevens College in their first exhibition game. This is a team that went 5-15 last year, 2-12 in conference. So a bit of duality between the first two games for the Billiken women's basketball team. The big news among non-basketball in non-basketball circles of the athletic department is the soccer programs. Man, I mean, what a weekend to be a Billiken soccer fan, Pete.
This was awesome. We can't say enough about how much we love how this men's team plays. Just so confident and just a blast to watch. And it's sort of like we talk about constantly, it kind of brings us back to the good old days of SLU soccer just being an elite program every single year. And yeah, the women's team too, man, getting another title today. I mean, it's been a blast to watch.
Yeah, last night's game was a lot. Well, actually, I'll take that back. It was not a lot of fun for about 70 minutes in there.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
But AJ Palazzolo got the Billikens on the board in the 16th minute. Bardowski upper 90.
Yeah.
If you're a hockey fan. Yeah, off a volley too. I think he took it down with his chest and then volleyed it in.
That's right. It kind of popped up off of his chest, went up a few feet, came down, and he got it coming down and just ripped it off the crossbar down into the net. It was just an incredible finish.
And then in the 86th minute, Chris Brook scored a very with a classy finish, I thought, off an assist, which was world class from Simon Betcher. Outside of the foot through ball, found Brook, who was hustling as hard as he could to get into the play, and Brook slotted it home to put the game on ice.
That pass was incredible. I think I said to you or tweeted at the time, it's amazing that may be the assist of the year. It was just such a pretty pass, and it didn't come off the foot of John Klein somehow, which just shows you how many weapons this team has. It's kind of everything that was in between the two goals that we kind of struggled with. I know you and I texted back and forth a little bit. Don't necessarily love it when this team plays kind of, more defensive ball where they're just kind of packing it in and trying to wear out the clock, especially with a 1-goal lead.
Yeah.
It brings you back to the SIUE or the UIC games where those were ties that probably should have been wins. So thank God for that second goal, that Betra pass. And that's just very lovely little finish.
Yeah, you mentioned the defensive posture of the Billikens, and I really hope this is something that doesn't show up in this next game. I believe they're playing Fordham, as Fordham beat VCU last night to move on to face the Billikens. But I'll tell you what, I think one of the stars of this game was Kip Keller. Schulte was outstanding in goal. He made two unbelievable saves to keep the Billikens up 1-0. But I think I need two hands to count the amount of tackles that Kip Keller made to prevent shots on goal that were a very high percentage.
Every time your blood pressure started to go up, like, oh no, is this where Dayton gets a chance to equalize? Yeah. Keller was the one, it felt like, breaking it up. And I think you're right. I think he's probably the unsung MVP in this one. Palazzolo is one of those guys, like, I was kind of thinking about coming into this game. I was like, all year long, he's just been so solid, but you don't really see his name a whole lot because of his position. He's just not showing up in the highlights of the stat sheet. So he's just so solid. And I think he's going to be one of those guys you almost miss more when he's gone than you appreciate while he's here. And then he goes and rips off one of the best goals we've seen all season. So
I can't remember a goal better. I'm not
great.
Even talking this season. That's a goal that's top 10 in all of soccer this year across the globe.
Yeah, that was a pro goal. I mean, that, the MLS team in Cincinnati is pretty bad, so we haven't had a lot of highlights here this year. But I think that's if that happens in MLS, that's their highlight of the night, league wide.
Yeah, I don't know how that, like, Patrick Schulte's save should have been the highlight of the night, but somehow, he is somehow, it's impossible to pick between that save, the Palazzolo goal, or the Becher assist. I have no idea.
Wow, that's a good point, because in a normal game, any one of those plays is the easy number one.
If you're Dayton, you have to be just beside yourself.
Because this was a really evenly fought game. And part of that is because of the way that, SLU getting that goal early and kind of fell back into, kind of parking it at home in terms of their style. I think that was part of it, to where, both in watching this game and in the box score, it was a pretty evenly fought game. And it certainly felt for a while like Dayton was going to level this thing up. So yeah, you have to imagine they were pretty frustrated, but all three of these plays, in addition to being just beautiful plays to watch, were just incredibly crucial when they came. So absolutely necessary, Schulte makes that save. I can't imagine, they level that at 1-1 and it could have been a long night. And then Becher putting that pass through to kind of ice the thing. Just every one of them was so devastating to Dayton, which, obviously feels pretty good for us.
Just to run down the results from the first round, and a reminder that since the Billikens advanced as the 1 seed, the semifinals and finals will be played at St. Louis University at 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. noon and 3 Central Time, Friday, November 12th. St. Louis, as we mentioned, defeats Dayton 2-0. Fordham defeated VCU. That's a number 4 Fordham beating number 5 VCU 2-1 in 2 OT. Number 2 Rhode Island defeats number 7 Davidson 3-1. Number 6 Duquesne beats number 3 St. Joseph's 3-1. So St. Louis will host Fordham at Herman Stadium noon on Friday. Take a long lunch for that one, or just pretend to work. And then at 3 p.m., Rhode Island will take on Duquesne. I am so unhappy that these games are during the day.
I think, knock on wood, if no more of my customers ask for anything too crazy this week, I think I'm just hitting my slow season. So this might be perfect for me because I might be able to watch these before my kids get home, or at least have them kind of on while I'm finishing up some work. So I don't mind it selfishly, but yeah, it is unfortunate for normal people.
What a weekend for the women's soccer team. We talked about how good of a weekend the men's soccer team had. The women's soccer team, I think I tweeted out the GIF of the old man with the dollar bill on the fishing pole. I mean, SLU dangled a carrot in front of the Atlantic 10 women's soccer field this season with how badly they struggled early. And then they just said, nah, it's still ours.
We talked about how frustrated that Dayton men's team must be after that loss last night, but this whole conference has to just throw its hands up and go, what can we possibly do? This is the season that SLU women came in ranked higher than they ever had been before preseason. All of the expectations in the world on this team. We just kind of took it as a foregone conclusion that they would steamroll this conference in both the regular season and tournament. And it didn't really become clear until today that that was going to be the case, because they finished third in the regular season with 3 losses, which is 3 more losses than they had in the 3 previous years. Not to mention the really tough, disappointing non-conference slate they had. And even in this tournament, there were times where it was kind of more of the same, where it was like, we're out shooting them, we're getting all these corners, and we're just not finishing, just not converting. And it kind of felt like it finally just all broke open.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it all broke open, and it was a 4-2 win on Friday afternoon at Bojan Field against the University of Dayton. In the first minute, an own goal, man. Sometimes you need the other team to do it for you, I guess. An errant clearance on a cross went directly into the back of the net. Then in the 6th minute, Dayton returned the favor with a goal from Lainey Huber on the assist from Noel Blaine. It was 1-1 at that point. 28th minute, Caroline Kelly gets her 5th of the year, assisted by Abby Miller. Dayton, as they did for the first half, came right back and tied the game at 2 in the 37th minute on a goal from Alexa Hull, or Hall. I'm not sure. Sorry, Dayton fans that don't listen to this podcast. 50th minute, Matten Summers, the freshman standout, and we heard a lot of her name in this tournament. She got her 2nd goal of the season on an assist from Bree Halverson, and then something you don't see every day, a 2nd own goal. Gives the Billikens a 4-2 lead, and that would be all they needed. It was a corner kick, and this ball was just basically headed straight up into the top of the net.
Both of their own goals were kind of unfortunate bounces for them. They were pretty tough clearances. Obviously, they got the worst result out of both of them. So it's a shame for Dayton that those wind up being the difference in the game. Again, this is what did we say last time? This is the 6th time this calendar year that Dayton and SLU have played. And even when SLU has been at its most vulnerable, this is now the 6th straight win. Or wait, did they tie one? I could be off there. No, it's
wins.
Yeah, they won them all. They took overtime.
It
took overtime in a couple of them. Yeah.
It's the 9th straight win overall.
There you go. Yeah.
Versus the Flyers. But this was far from a good showing from the Billikens. I mean,
I agree.
They put a lot. They had a lot of offense, but it seemed like the defense just wasn't there, and that could be contributed to the fact that Sophia Stram did not play in this one.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they got Dayton looked great on both of their goals in this one. SLU did look vulnerable on that back line, as they have they have lately. Like they kind of did this whole tournament look vulnerable at times. So we've banged the drum all year about kind of transition defense and just not being able to get anything when they're getting back. So I don't know what the answer is there, but yeah, Dayton actually looked very much like SLU's equal in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I know I was holding my breath after the second when they tied it up the second time, but Billikens came out and finished it off early in the second half. And that awarded them a matchup with UMass Minutewomen, in which it was close early, and the Billikens just went on a torrent goal scoring, just a rush of goals. 28th minute, Hannah Frederick gets her second of the season, assisted by Matten Summers. As we said, we were mentioning her name a lot.
Yeah.
54th minute, UMass ties the game on Ashley Lamont's 8th goal of the season. It was assisted by Bella Racinos, which is my favorite name of any women's team we've played. I don't know why. I think that name's awesome.
Good name.
61st minute, Lindsay Heckel, her 5th goal of the season, assisted by Frederick. Gaby comes back 7 minutes later, gets her 7th of the season. This one was assisted by Matten Summers and Bree Halverson. And then in the 75th minute, Abby Miller gets her 5th of the season, assisted by Anna Walsh. This was a very tense first half, and then a very fun to watch second half.
Yeah, well, at least the last 35 minutes or so of the second half, after UMass equalized, then it's weird because even including their goal, everything happened in 7-minute intervals. So there was kind of this weird flow to that half.
Oh, Summers, you're right. Jesus.
Yeah, Summers was really kind of obviously the breakout player of this tournament, and her goal against Dayton was my favorite of the 4 in that game. Obviously, the own goals were nothing special, but yeah, she was all over the place in this one. That first, calling it an assist here is a little tricky because she had taken the shot, a really good attempt actually off the crossbar, and Frederick was right there to head it back in, which was just a really smart, veteran, savvy play right there. And then she's involved later on that Gaby goal in the 68th minute, which you say she wasn't offsides, but man, I gotta say that was really close.
I thought she was easily being held on by the player closest to the ball. That was my opinion. But what a run by Halverson in this one.
Oh man. In that second half, I felt like Halverson got them out of so many jams. Yes. And like she was always the player kind of just carving through the defense to make things happen. She was incredible in this game. Really fun to watch.
I've been kind of hard on Halverson this season. Like I've been very critical of some of the stuff she's done as far as being too long on the ball, trying to do a little too much. But in this game, she had it. She was with it in this game, and that run was a perfect example of what she probably had been trying to do this entire season.
Yeah, I think so. She kind of, I like trying to do too much. I think is probably something she's been guilty of throughout this year, and I think she can kind of overplace things sometimes. And leave them a little vulnerable behind her. But man, was she fantastic today. She just looked like she had another gear that nobody on UMass had.
Matten Summers is the tournament most valuable player. Anybody could really challenge that, you think?
I mean,
Caroline Kelly was pretty damn good.
She was great. I think you could make an argument for Halverson. Sure. Puricelli. No, I don't think it would be as good as Puricelli's been all year. I don't think it would be her in this one. I made a kind of a questionable decision on the goal that UMass wound up with.
Yeah, it was. There were times like I just remember. I know that the funny thing is I can remember almost every time Piercelli made a bad decision as a Billiken, because
Yeah.
there's only been maybe a handful of them.
Right. Right.
Or,
So when it
or a
happens, it really stands
mistake.
out.
Yeah,
That's right.
So, I mean, they were great in this tournament. They complete a four-peat. I mean, that's a dynasty.
Yeah. Yeah. That's you got to think of how many players who are going to spend 4 seasons at whatever school in the A10, and their entire career will have been defined by another team just winning the conference. So they've kind of shut this league off, and it didn't, for most of this year, it didn't feel like that. But man, in these last eight goals in these last 2 games, you kind of wonder, are they going to be that sort of really tricky seed? When tomorrow's tournament bracket is announced, are they going to be that team that's like a freshman heavy Kentucky team that underperforms all year and gets like a 7 or 8 seed, and they're the last team in the world you want to see in the tournament? I wonder if they kind of might be the sleeping giant might be generous, but certainly a team you don't want to face in the first round.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Iowa women's soccer from last year. They 7-9-1 overall, 2-8-1 in the Big Ten, and then they win the Big Ten tournament, and then go on to beat Campbell in the first round of the NCAA. Like, that's something I think that
right.
We could see out of the Billikens in a way.
Yeah, I honestly, at this point, nothing would surprise me. No outcome in this in the tournament would surprise me. There's a wide range of possibilities in terms of where they could end up playing in the first round. They're going to be on the road. We know that much. Coming into the season, we were probably hoping that this would be a team that for the second year in a row would be one of the 16 seeded teams, and would therefore be would have kind of a home field pod. So they're definitely going to be playing everything else on the road, but it's thrilling to be back in that position in the tournament again.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how this shakes out and where they show up. That selection show will be tomorrow, and then I believe they will go ahead and play this weekend coming up.
Yes, yeah, I think you're right. It should be. We won't know what the date is until they announce that. Where we're playing, but it should be this weekend, correct?
Yeah, I will. When we talk to Jack Reboyne, we may drop a little women's soccer talk in there too.
There you go. Yeah.
So we'll work that out on our side, and hopefully we'll bring you some good content. The only other thing happening right now, volleyball. They had a tough weekend. It took them 5 sets to beat Fordham 3-2, and then a 3-1 loss at Rhode Island. Pete, I really thought this volleyball team was going to turn it around. I thought they were heading in the right direction. I really wanted to roll with it here, and they I tried to be positive here, Pete.
Yeah, so I mean, we had talked all year long. Dayton and VCU are the 2 targets for SLU, right? Dayton's the clear class of the conference this year. They're 15-0. They're 22-5 overall. They've won 16 straight. VCU had a couple kind of inexplicable losses. They did lose to SLU too, which is great, but now they've won 5 in a row, and they're kind of the clear number 2. Well, I mean, arguably, they didn't have to be. If SLU takes care of business against Rhode Island, then they've got essentially the same record. So I kind of wonder, like, I don't know. I feel like SLU is just the clear number 3 in this conference. And then there's the bottom half, which is Rhode Island, Fordham, George Mason, George Washington. Those teams are so clearly teams that you cannot lose to. Like, they're just, I don't know how this happens.
Yeah. I mean, look, we've talked about it. Going on the road in the non-rev sports is a pain in the ass, especially when you're a program like SLU that has to go all the way to the East Coast. enduring travel. I hate traveling. So, I mean, I can understand that. Although I love to travel, I hate the getting there part. So I can get it. But you have to win. I mean, they're bad teams. And I just don't know I mean, 25-20 first set against Fordham, 25-20, 17-25, 25-21, 24-26, and then 15-11 in the fifth set. You can't have it, like, you can't let Fordham take you to 5 sets ever. I mean, Fordham isn't as bad in volleyball as they are in basketball, but they're 7-16 overall, 4-8 in the Atlantic 10. That's just with the difference between where third place SLU is and the rest of the conference, you just can't. Rhode Island, 20-25 first set, 25-21, 23-25, and 14-25 in the fourth. I mean, I don't know. They're 12-18. Again, Rhode Island's 12-18, 4-10 in the Atlantic 10 too. So just not acceptable in my mind. So yeah, again, I can excuse losses to VCU and Dayton. I truly can. I can excuse losses out of conference to good teams. But if you want to be in the running with Dayton and VCU, you have got to win out other than those games. So, and you have to beat Dayton or VCU at home. You have to at least win one of those home games. So, yeah, I don't really know. Field hockey season's over. And I mean, I know there are other, sports going on as far as, track and field and whatnot, but that's as far as it goes for team sports in Billiken athletics. And Pete, any last thoughts on the week that was and the week that is going to be?
Just that, cross country, they finished second on the men's side out of 14 in the A10, which is their highest finish ever. So I think that's worth noting. The women were 9th of 14, so kind of in the middle of the pack there. So just wanted to point that out. You mentioned that volleyball losses to Dayton and VCU are acceptable, but you want to be competitive and grab those occasionally at home. SLU does have the chance to do that this weekend. They play at the last 2 matches at home. They've got Dayton on the 12th. They've got Duquesne, which is kind of a middle of the conference team, on the 13th, and that wraps up the regular season. But the way Dayton is playing, it's kind of hard to foresee a win there. I don't know what you think about that one.
Yeah, no, I don't. I mean, the only thing I can say is Dayton has the conference wrapped up. They have run away with this conference. And like, I mean, I guess the only way to explain this is Dayton is good, but like, I mean, they get swept 6-0 in 2 matches against Wisconsin in September. Number 13, Louisville, beats them 3-2. Like, I mean, they're not great, and that's what's annoying, is that they're beatable. I don't know. But so
you can't get swept in this one.
No,
be competitive.
Yes, absolutely. That's what I want to see this weekend.
Yeah.
Well, Billiken fans, exciting week ahead. You got men's basketball. You got the women's soccer selection show. You've got men's soccer semifinals and hopefully finals, and then hopefully a selection show for the men. And we're going to try to bring you some in-depth soccer coverage. I'm working on that. Some sort of guest involving the soccer team. Whether it be an alumni, I don't know. But I'm working on it, and I'll get it to you guys. Thank you guys so much for listening. Follow us on social media at Midtown Mad Pod, at Peter is a tweeter, at Zach Miller MMP. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast, and even on the places you don't, just to up our subscriber base. Peter, I don't know if you know this, but our unique listeners have grown every week. So that's exciting. We went from I think we went from 100. Now we're up to like 150. So
That's great. I mean,
Yeah.
keep spread. If you like the show, tell your friends, leave us a rating, leave us honest comments, feedback, interact with us on Twitter. We're going to keep doing this thing. So we appreciate all the support.
Yeah. And I know my video is messed up. So yeah, I'm going to end this real quick before anything goes wrong. Thanks for listening, everybody. Talk to you guys soon. Go Bills.
Go Bills.